I just want to put together a little something because we are having yet another snow day. And although I love the snow, I was born in a blizzard, totally love the snow. I'd rather be in the greenhouse today with you all. But at any rate, we cannot control the weather. So, I'm really excited about a few things that I want to share with you. I don't think this will take that much longer than your normal class period, if at all that length, because I would go on forever, but you know I can. So anyway, I'll start off by saying I made some choices this weekend, and I feel like they're decisions that kind of came together organically. And I know you probably understand what I mean by that, because it seems like some days you just naturally come up with something, or through conversation with somebody else you come to a conclusion, and that's kind of what happened for me. I have been working with our marketing department on the student farm, and I'm really excited about the logo that our graphic designer came up with, Sandy, based on our ideas, or at least our the elements that we wanted to include in the farm. And so I'm sharing the logo with you today, and I'm going to post this on Canvas. I tried to earlier, but for some reason it wouldn't load. I think I'll have to put it in as a file, but isn't that sweet? And I'll, like I said, I'll put it in there. I absolutely love it. Okay, so and this is kind of cool too, because this has all been an evolutionary experience in a way. Like, the whole student farm thing has evolved, and it's evolved even bigger, and that's what I'm excited to share with you, is that over the weekend, or no, it was Friday, I think, I was wondering about other products or other things that we grow, and I really like to look at things like a business as much as possible. Not that I've ever run my own business, not that I think I should run my own business, frankly. But if I had, a partner that would help with those other pieces, I could see doing it. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. Anyway, I was thinking, okay, if we do the Monarch project, then maybe it should just say student garden, or maybe we take this out and we just have the logo itself. And I was kind of throwing around the ideas, and then we have the Monarch project, and then we have the hydroponics, and we have all these other things. And I kind of sent a couple of sentences to the marketing department. I cut out a couple of others because it's like email ramble, since we don't talk to each other a whole lot now. And anyway, in my ramble, and then my erasing of some rambles, I was like, you know what, why wouldn't we just have everything that comes from the ag school be under the student farm? Like, why not? The greenhouse is integral in the production of the student farm. The Monarch project will be bigger at the farm than it will be even on campus. So the other things that we do are the hydroponics. So I know some farms that supplement their field growing and their other, in one case it was his baking, because he has a bakery and a field growing operation. He has animals as well, and he has hydroponics. So why wouldn't it all just fall under the student farm? So, we kind of came to that conclusion, and I got help through my rambles and my feedback, and so everything will fall under the student farm. So that becomes really exciting to me, because it really puts a cohesiveness into our projects that we didn't have before. So when I assisted with our ag marketing class a year ago, exactly, we looked at all the different pieces of what we do. So in my technical brain, I was separating everything into something different, and it kind of is, of course it is. But when you think about a farm is really a lot of different pieces, right? Farmers have a lot of different jobs to do, and one of which is greenhouse management. So it actually totally made sense and kind of clicked, and it also helps me because I like to look at things as a whole. I like to see the way everything fits together, and it kind of all just kind of came together in that sense. So, as part of the student farm, we will be obviously continuing to do the greenhouse management in concert with all the projects that we do. And just to remind us of what those projects are, of course, we got the student farm. Ooh, do I have any tape in here? Oh, I do have tape. Wow. I'm a big fan of tape. So we've got the student farm, and this is so great. And I love the logo, and I'm totally picturing like trucker hats and sweatbands. We gotta get some sweatbands. And t-shirts. I mean, that's a cool t-shirt. I'm sorry. I like it. Okay, so I might be a little biased, but I think it's good. Anyway, I wrote some stuff down. Where'd it go? Here it is. So under the student farm, we obviously have the farm, right? But we're gonna look at the farm as one big whole thing. So we have the Monarch Project. I don't know, do we want the, and I know that sounds really silly, but I, worked for the Botanic Garden, the Berry Botanic Garden, like the was very important. So do we want the? That's a question for everyone, okay? So the Monarch Project. And as mentioned, the Monarch Project is more than just about monarchs, okay? And I know this is recap, but we're recapping. So monarchs, it's not just about monarchs, it's about pollinators in general. We're giving it this title because monarchs are sexy right now and we want to, sell our product. So, but it's also about pollinators, and this is going to be part of those pollinator strips. This is also part of the landscape project. So when we think about this is the landscape project as well. So we're not separating the landscape project out necessarily. No, I don't think we need to, because even when we go to do some rain garden spaces, we're going to incorporate swamp milkweed and other things that the monarchs like. So then when we think about the farm itself, and I'm just looking around to see if I've always got to be missing something. Okay. So then we have the market garden, and that's what we are planning in our greenhouse. Well, we're planting both of these. So the market garden. So this is the market garden project. And then we have those back 3 acres, okay? So when you're looking at the farm, it kind of looks like this, all right? And then we have fields separated, and that goes A, B, C, and D. This is the market garden. So this is the market garden project, this front. It's a little less than an acre. The two might be very similar, although we might do more herbs in the C side. B and E and A, B and E, those are all, that totals around 3 acres. We're calling that the green project. And again, it doesn't mean that, we can only grow grain. It could be cover crops, it could be, silage, it could be a variety of different things. It could be corn, but that's a grain, obviously. It could also be, I have this idea for the ancient wheat. It's not my idea alone. It's an idea that a lot of people have. It's not necessarily easy, but it would be worth trying. So again, the grain project could be something very different. We could grow our own grain for the chickens that live on B. We could grow the chicken grain for the chickens. Anyway, that's just another thought because we need animals. But at any rate, that's down the road. Okay, so then we have the grain project, and then we have the hydroponics. hydroponics project, or hydroponic project, hydroponic projects, hydroponics, and then we have the houseplants. So we need to commit to these houseplants or not. We could also commit to having the houseplants in a seasonal way and then just having stock plants. This is kind of a down the road conversation. What we are really focused on are the hydroponics project, the market garden project, and the monarch project. So those are our main projects this year. We will talk about this one more in the fall, and this one more in the fall really as well, because that back 3 acres, we're just gonna manage that cover crop that's there. There's perennial rye and red clover. So anyway, I just wanted to share all that because it's kind of a big deal in our little department, and I'm excited to share, and if we were in class, I would be sharing that with you. So the assignment for today was to read this crop planning propagation protocol schedules and records from the Tropical Nursery Manual, and this is a USDA forest publication essentially. It's really great. I'm loving it. It's something I actually found a really long time ago, but at any rate, so glad we're using it. So now this, in the beginning, so if everybody can get their papers out, we'll just go through it. It's basically sharing the scenario of this nursery that is all about reforesting native land with certain trees. And it looks like the acacia is the one that they're focused on. And I'm not sure if you guys know what the acacia is. Obviously, this is not an answer and question kind of video, so I'll just answer that question. Acacia is, well, there's a couple of different kinds of acacia, and we actually grow one. There's one right down the road from me. They are a little bit tender in our area. This is Hawaii, right? So we can grow, but I don't think it's koa. I don't think it's acacia koa. I think it's a different one. But at any rate, it's an acacia, and it is, I'm trying to think of the other name for it. They're awesome. Hummingbirds love them. But at any rate, the other one, that's another acacia, is called the sensitive plant. So if anybody's ever experienced the sensitive plant, which is a really cool plant that also grows in Hawaii natively, that's acacia as well. But this is a tree. This is obviously a native tree, and they are contract growing. It seems like that's their main customer, based on what I read, and hopefully what you read too, because we read the same thing, right? Anyway, I like this beginning part, which is kind of giving you, it's awesome because it's giving you an idea of what the project is, so we could actually do that for our projects. That was attractive, right? And then developing propagation protocols. So that's why I pulled this out, because we are in that place where we're planning and scheduling. And I think having a propagation protocol is super awesome and really beneficial. So this is something I'd like us to do for each of our crops in these groups. We're going to start with these two, because we've already started with those two, right? And then the hydroponics we'll do a little bit down the road. And the hydroponics is, we're going to take some time to really focus on that for a period of the class. So I think that's when we'll take the time to do those. But we'll make it easy, you know, with the hydroponics we'll choose 4 different crops. We'll each take on a crop and put together a protocol. It'll be different than the 2 that we're working on now, which are both different from each other, right? Because the farm project is, or the market garden project is all annual for produce production, and then the monarch project is, you know, all the perennials that we are looking at growing, which are more than what we had for our assignment. So I think we'll all pick another one on Wednesday. So anyway, the point of a propagation route is for you to have a reliable and repeatable guide to producing the plants. I think that's important, because if it only makes sense to you as the greenhouse manager, but it doesn't make sense to anyone else, it's not reliable in a sense, but it's also maybe not repeatable either, right? and not to focus on the negative, because let's focus on the positive, right? If it's reliable and repeatable, then everyone in the nursery should be able to read that and understand what to do, as long as they've been trained on your, systems and what you have in place for your greenhouse. A protocol is ideally comprehensive, systematic, and detailed. And systems are great, right? Obviously. And it needs to be comprehensive, because why not? But also detailed. And here's the other thing, though, is that this first propagation protocol that you put together, and it literally says this in here somewhere, it's your first draft, essentially. You're doing the research. So you guys went out and you did your research, and I'm going to use Eddie's propagation protocol as an example, because he did the Liatris ligulacillus meadow blazing star, and it basically, Eddie found information on propagation method, type, and so on and so forth, that varies from what Elna did on Wednesday of last week. Was it Wednesday? Yes, Wednesday of last week. And is one way better than the other? No, not necessarily. This is our first working draft. So even though this is accurate, I'm going to replace it with what we actually do. Or not replace it, I'm sorry, because there's pieces of it that don't need replaced. But what I mean is, like, for instance, Eddie found different information on the pre-sowing treatment. This is different from what Elna did on Wednesday. So rather than have this hypothetical one, or it's not hypothetical, that's not the right word, rather than have this other choice in method, we're going to stick with what we're actually doing. I want to keep a record of this, though, because what if what we do doesn't work very well? Then we should look at doing something different, right? And that's what it means by it becomes a first draft. So this is our first draft, so we should actually date these too, even if we put it in like a footer. A footer note might be a good idea, because next year this could look slightly different, and each year we could potentially be adding to it, but it might be a good idea to have that old record, like, oh yeah, hey, we tried that and it didn't work, kind of thing. So anyway, it becomes our first draft, and I have this, I'm putting together a folder for the greenhouse, although I might get a better quality folder, because the ones I get through the school are really nice. But at any rate, what do I want to say? Oh, there'll be a section for the Monarch project. There'll be a section for the Market Garden project. There'll be a section for the hydroponic the hydroponic project. Those are the ones we're going to focus on in our class. And then what else do I want to say about this? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, what Eddie put together, and I'm going to make it blank. So we'll just have the, it'll become our master sheet, essentially. So this one I'm going to turn into a master sheet. Thank you very much, Eddie. Good job. Well done. And reading through it, I think like I said, your information is correct as well. There was questions about target specification, propagule collection, propagule processing. So they refer to everything as propagules because they might be taking cuttings and they might be planting seeds. There's other means in which we could propagate as well, like layering or grafting. So they want to keep it big, and maybe they collect other types of propagules as well, like, stolons. So at any rate, or tubers. So at any rate, they're leaving it very open. We are mostly dealing with seeds, right? So that's okay that those were left open. I'm not sure what target specification is. I didn't find that either. So we can talk about that. And then there's a blank for establishment phase. And I think what I read in the establishment phase, and that's for us, is the, if I remember right, let me just look it up. I think it's from when the plant is seeded all the way up until the first true leaves come out, right? So once your first true leaves develop, then you're after, that's when the establishment phase would be over. And now if you're taking cuttings, then that establishment phase is from the moment that you take the cutting, place it in the media, and then once it puts out roots, and not just like one tiny little root, right, but like a decent amount of roots, then that would be the establishment phase. So depending on what propagation method you're using, you're going to have a different establishment phase. I'm not sure what they're looking for as far as, it might, in this case, we might have just this simple statement from table 4.2, from germination through the emergence and formation of first true leaves. And that would be I'm thinking that blank would be the definition of establishment for this propagation type. All right. So then the duration of establishment, that's kind of cool to have, because that kind of gives us an idea of how much time do we need to propagate this plant entirely. And then rapid growth phase is after establishment but prior to hardening off, and that kind of makes sense, especially for growing in the greenhouse, because plants are going to establish pretty rapidly or have a rapid growth phase because of the fact that we have the conditions that we do in the greenhouse. And then duration of rapid growth phase, that's going to be, I mean, for this Liatris, I would say, and I need to do my own research on this and to fill this blank in. I mean, this might be what we find out as we grow this plant as well. But it says here the total duration of establishment is 3 to 4 months. That's including the process with the treatment to the seed. So the rapid growth phase. Oh wait. Okay. Duration of establishment phase. Plants should be ready for outplanting in 3 to 4 months. Okay, so that's not just the establishment phase. So that would be the entire, from start to finish, would be 3 to 4 months. So establishment phase, and again, these are things that we're going to fill in as we go along. This information might be out there somewhere, but it also might not be worth doing all of that research, because here's the thing, let's say you Google this, okay, duration of establishment phase for Liatris, okay, you're gonna maybe come up with this specific species, you may not, you might have to guess based on something else, and in the end, it might be totally different from what ends up happening in our situation. So that's, again, why we develop our own protocols, is so that we can fill that in and say, oh, okay, so from seed to first true leaves, it took 8 weeks. That might be something that we figure out, okay? But duration of rapid growth phase, again, that's something we're probably going to figure out. And then the hardening off phase. So this article, I liked it because it talked a lot about hardening off as well. And the rapid growth is a little bit, obscure. And again, it's going to be very specific to each plant. But the hardening off, we talked a little bit about this. So that becomes a very important stage for post-production quality of your plants as a greenhouse grower. So, and I mean, I know I've shared this, I think I've shared this, but maybe I did this with another class, is where, think about it. If you're in the greenhouse and you're getting lush environment, somebody comes in there and waters you every day, and this is great, and I don't even have to do much, and I got to grow, and it's snowing outside, but it's 58 in here, I'm doing great. I'm on this heating mat, life is good. So then you just jerk them out and put them in the landscape, they're going to freeze their butts off, right? They're not even going to know what to do. That's going to become a place where the plant gets shocked. And we talk about shock in a lot of different practices, essentially, especially in landscape practices, but it also happens in this place of moving from a greenhouse out into the field environment, or to the nursery, or to the retail nursery, even if you're a wholesale nursery, right? And so this hardening off phase becomes very important, so that the plants do not experience shock, and so that they go home with their client, and the client is happy because the plant is doing well, establishes in their landscape well, or in their fields well. And they're using, again, this is the acacia tree, where they're making the observation that when the roots become woody, compacted, spiraling, or if there's any malformation of the roots inside the pot, then they've been held too long. And you can see here too on page 76 the type of container that they really want to, and on 75, the type of container that they really want to sell their plants in. It's not a very big container. I mean, it's a nice size, and I like the depth. This is a good size for a tree. But I think you can probably not be too surprised at how fast they could become held for too long. So I thought that was kind of cool in here, where they talked about, making it very clear to your client what the stages are of this plant, so that you can ensure that the plant gets out to them at a timely manner. There may be times when your client says, oh, I can't take that yet, or I haven't sold what I thought I'd sell. And in that case, you might be holding on to your plants too long. There may be a time when you have to make a choice of whether or not to pot them up into the next pot. And that would be another business choice to make. And then it would also add to your scheduling, because we've talked about the fact that we will plant our tomatoes into a 4-inch pot for sure, and probably a 4-inch deep. What if we got to the point where they were full of that 4-inch deep, and we still needed 2 more weeks in the greenhouse? Would it be worth planting them into a quart or a gallon or whatever the next size is, in order to hold them longer? So these are choices that you would have to make. Also, if you're selling them, then you would obviously have to increase that sale based on, or that cost or that price point based on your labor and your pot and your media and everything else. Here's the other thing. Here's the other side of that. Please do not make the mistake of selling your plants to a customer before they get to the point where they're rooted in nicely, okay? And this is something we will talk about, and I will show you in real life, because again, we're going back to this, kind of it is not just kind of hand-drawn thing, where you can see that the roots have filled the container. Fibrous roots grow and fill the container, right? But they haven't got to this place yet, okay? I'm bringing that up because as a buyer of plants, I have bought this stage, and it's very disappointing. I'm not going back to that person and buying from them ever again, kind of annoying. Because what's happened in the past for me, and I'm sure it may happen again, but I doubt it. I mean, maybe. I feel like I learned my lesson, and I'll show you how you tell if you're buying a quality plant. But when you purchase say somebody made that choice to go from a 4-inch deep to a gallon on Monday, and then they sold it to you on Friday. So what are they selling you? They're selling you a 4-inch deep with some extra media and a bigger pot and a bunch of labor in between that was absolutely unnecessary. You've got to make sure that that plant is established enough in that gallon container before you turn around and sell it. Especially if you're going to increase the price. If you're not going to increase the price, then, well, you're not going to make money exactly, but that's a different story. But if I'm buying a 4-inch plant at a gallon price, and all you're giving me is an extra bunch of media and no roots, I'm not buying those plants again. I'm not coming back. And if I come back, I'm bringing them back, and I'm not going to buy them again. So we'll talk more about that. Obviously, that's a sore subject for me. But it's not happened a lot in my life, because I'll tell you, there's a way to tell the difference. When it happens and when it has happened is when I order something and I trust that that's what's going to happen, and it's, maybe even delivered to me and left, and then I come, you know what I mean? Like, if I go to the nursery, I know what to look for. This is not the case. I did not go to the nursery. I purchased in a different way. And that would actually be the downfall of the mail order business. Although I think a lot of mail order business plants in general have kind of something. I think they have a built-in cushion for returns, essentially, or complaints in that way, because they are. It is a different animal, mail order plants. All right, getting off of track there a little bit, but that's what we do. All right, so then there's some other really good information in here. So an example of the facility schedule, I love it. I really like this one here too about the scheduling of multiple crops. It's almost like a Gantt chart in a way. This is something we should definitely do. It'll keep people on task. There's a crop schedule then. I just feel like these are really good information, and this is all very good information. And then I love the daily log. And then if you go to page 79, again, one of my favorite things, how does everything work together? So all these pieces are working together. And again, this is kind of a living document, really. You know, if this is your first draft and you're going to go grow everything and then turn around and take records on it, you're going to make adjustments to that propagation protocol as you move forward, and that makes sense. And that's actually kind of part of the really exciting pieces of what we do as growers, because these plants are living. They're dynamic. Our climate is dynamic. Our weather is dynamic. Our everything. You know, we are not in a static world, and man, am I so glad about that. You know, we're not making T-shirts. We're not making Barbie dolls. We're growing plants, folks, and that makes it even more cool. So, at any rate, although we should be making some T-shirts, definitely T-shirts, trucker hats. I'm wearing one for sure. Okay, so then the other pieces of this I wanted to just share today, and I think that we should think about a few things, and then I'm going to give you an assignment. But I think what we should think about is, I gave out a different propagation record, and this is a really nice copy of one here. Looks like I ran over it with my kid's little truck or something. But anyway, I passed out one of these, I think, maybe? No, I didn't. Okay, good, because I don't really like it anymore. But that's okay, because I'm going to look at this. I'm going to compare to the propagation records that we're looking at. And then we also have these that I passed out, the greenhouse record sheet and the propagation and crop performance sheet. So basically what I'm asking you to do, this is your assignment for the day, or from here until what is today, Monday? From here until Wednesday, actually. So on Wednesday, it's not going to be snowing. So we are going to meet at the greenhouse as normal. And Donna had a question. What was Donna's question? Oh yeah. So the question was, how did I want her to turn these pieces in? So for this assignment, the one where you did your plant for the Monarch project, a couple of things I want you to do. So Eddie, you got a couple of things you got to do too, even though yours is fantastic, and I'm sure everybody else's will be too. But just a couple of things I want to talk about with that assignment, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign you each 2 crops for the farm to do the exact same thing. Obviously it's going to be very different. And then what I want us to do is please take a look at those greenhouse record sheets, your propagation and crop performance sheet that I passed out from that Organic Standards book, or it's a California University organic farming book. And then let's compare it to the Tropical Nursery Manual on Wednesday and make some decisions if we want to add anything to that. Which one do we want to use, okay? So with this, I just want to make a couple of notes, and I should probably erase this. Yeah. No, I'll erase most of it, because we're going to talk about these 2 things. Okay, so for the Monarch project, now this is the assignment, the propagation protocol that you just turned in. Okay, and I want to just talk about that right now. And I'm going to make some suggestions that some of you are already going to know what to do. And so that's okay. But what I'm going to do is Eddie gave me permission to use his work, and I am going to take his work and I'm going to make it all a master sheet. Did I already tell you that? I probably did. So I will post this as you guys are watching my video, this exciting video. I will post this on Canvas, and then you'll have access to it so you can insert your information, because I do want to use this propagation protocol. When you're doing it, okay, family scientific name, I think we can all find that. The family common name, yes. Scientific name. So when you spell your scientific name, I want you to do this correctly from this moment forward for the rest of your life, okay? And I will mark you off for it in order to make sure my point gets across. But I have a feeling that you'll all get it because it's really super easy. All right, first of all, spell your scientific name correctly. Double check until you really know what you're spelling. I know it sounds like, oh, what's a big deal? Oh, I missed it. Oh, well, big deal. It is a big deal. Okay, you're a horticulturalist. You want to be a horticulturalist. You want to be a plants person. Spell the name correctly. It sets you apart from the people who don't. And if you have to double check with Google to make sure, maybe you even check a couple of them, because sometimes they're not spelled correctly on there unless you get a really good quality website. And that was one thing that the article mentioned as well, is if you need to reach out to people to find out more about, you know, how to develop your propagation protocol for a plant, a lot of times private growers are not going to be so open, but the botanic gardens and university are. That's their job, right? That's part of what they have to do for their, you know, part of being a public garden is having an education department. So it's most likely that they are happy to share. That's what they want to do in a sense. So that's a little side note. Scientific name. So the first name, Liatris, and that one is capitalized. Always capitalized. Always capitalized. So this is your, oh, I got a puppy. There's a puppy next door. He's out playing in the snow. Oh, so cute. It's not my puppy. It's the neighbor's puppy. Puppies are distracting, aren't they? Oh, he's so cute. Okay, so back to this. When you're spelling plant names, okay, this is your genus, and this is your species. Right? I'm handwriting this, so I will underline Liatris. I'm not sure exactly how you spell that or say this. Ligulus. I don't know. I wish somebody would say that for me for real. So this is a lowercase l. Okay. If you're handwriting, it's underlined. So Liatris, Ligulus. I think that's the way you say it. Ligulus. Capital, lowercase, underline. If you're typing, it's italics. Okay? And, you know, sometimes you have a specific epithet. What's the other name for it? You have something in single quotes. That is not capitalized. Let's get to that. Let's talk about that on Wednesday. I don't want to get too deep into this. We're not going to have, I don't think we'll have varieties or whatever today. I don't think. But we can talk about that more on Wednesday. But just get in the habit of capital, lowercase, italics, okay? That was a long way to get to that. Common name, Meadow Blazing Star, fantastic. And then, like I said, this is going to become our first draft in all of these cases, okay? I'm gonna keep them. I mean, we'll probably, like I said, we'll each do one more for the Monarch project. Right now though, what I'm gonna have you do is 2 for the farm, the market garden project. And yeah, Wednesday we'll look at our seeds and we'll each choose another one for the Monarch project, because we're gonna have a couple of them there. And then also the other thing I want to talk about on Wednesday is I want to get into how do we want to package and sell stuff for that Monarch project. And I love the idea, Donna, thank you, of putting together the true costs of that project, because I think that that'll be a really good exercise in showing true costs. And then once we figure out our true costs, we can kind of have an idea of what we want to charge. And then we'll go to that Prairie Moon website and see what they charge, or to another website and see what they charge, because there are a lot of people that are putting those garden kits kind of out there. All right, so I hope that all makes sense. Like I said, I'll provide you with this template. Thank you, Eddie. And what are you gonna choose for your homework for now through Monday? I mean Wednesday, gosh. So from now to Wednesday, everybody needs to fill in the propagation protocol for their plant, and you can submit those to me and I'll print them. Obviously we're going to make a binder, but I do want to make corrections to them as we go along, and everything is fine to be completely hypothetical at this time. Obviously we have good resources with the farm. We can look at Johnny's, with the Monarch project. We got, that Prairie Moon website to check out. They're always really great. But I'm sure there's other places as well. And I loved, and just in addition here, thank you for, thanks to Eddie for citing what you used. I think that's actually a really good idea, because then we can go back to them if we say, say we try the Prairie Moon method this year and it doesn't work that great, we could go back here and say, let's read more about, what this other method is for preparing seeds. Okay, so for homework, go ahead and do a propagation protocol for onions. I'm going to assign these. Celery, peppers, tomatoes, pumpkins, winter squash, and zinnias. And I was gonna have one other, because basically bush beans, cucumbers, and summer squash, we can treat them all the same. So I was gonna have one person do that, but I'll just do that one as an example, maybe. I just feel like that one's slightly different, because honestly, bush beans, cucumbers, and summer squash, you can direct sow those, not a problem at all for the most part. But I like to start them indoors in the very beginning, just to get a little bit of a head start, and also because I do a little treatment where I dip them in kaolinite clay, and the idea is that when you dip them in kaolinite clay, the insects are less, and that's a natural organic thing. It's clay, it's just clay and water. But basically it coats the plants, and then the insects are kind of spend most of the time cleaning themselves instead of being able to puncture the plant. But then also that cutworm that, I'm always forgetting the name of that stem borer that attacks the cucumbers and the squash. It helps prevent them. Obviously we got to do some other stuff to get our plants into really good health, but at any rate, I'm going to add common thyme, because I think, and if it's creeping thyme, it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters. But anyway, I think somebody planted some kind of thyme. If you remember, it was Rachel or Donna planted a thyme. I can't remember if it was creeping thyme or common thyme. But anyway, they're already germinating and they're doing great. So we might end up plucking those or pricking those out and making more babies. But anyway, Let's do those, okay? So then I put you guys in an order of just Elna, Rachel, Eddie, Donna, right? Yep, and then again, Elna, Rachel. And you know, pumpkins and winter squash might be very similar. Eddie and Donna. So, Elna, your two crops are onions and pumpkins. Rachel, celery and winter squash. Eddie, peppers and zinnias. Donna, tomatoes and thyme. If you remember which one, you could say creeping or common. What else do I want to say? Enjoy. Drive safe if you have to. Looks like I'm not going anywhere for a little while anyway. And what else do I want to say? I guess that's it. I will see you Wednesday. Oh, and Wednesday, the other thing I want to do is I want to start getting into media. I know I said we'd get back to greenhouse construction, but what I'm thinking is we're going to circle back to greenhouse construction, environmental controls at the end. You know, this whole crop scheduling piece has caused me to really change my perspective on how this class should run. And I've been happy with it the last several times, but it just seems appropriate that it changes now. And the other, and then okay, I just thought of something else I wanted to share. But at any rate, I feel like the right thing to do is kind of like an introduction to everything, and then get more involved in deep. I mean, not involved or deep. What's the other word? Detailed? We'll learn more anyway. So I think media makes sense to get into media next. So I will give you a reading assignment on Wednesday through till next week. But we will do a little introduction to media on Wednesday. We also need to transplant into the NFT, and we'll see what else is on the list as far as seeding goes. And yep, I think that kind of covers it. Oh, the other thing I wanted to share, that's right. So the other thing I wanted to share is that as part of that agriculture marketing, we put together a little marketing plan, and Elna, who's in our class, which is so cool that you're in our class. I just love it, because this is the mission, the marketing plan for the butterfly project, what we were calling the Monarch Butterfly Project. And but basically what we did is we put together a mission statement and some core values, and then some market research questions, and who are we selling to. I mean, this turned out to be a really good plan. Elna, you did a really good job, and I love the way it all came together. So I want to share this with you guys as well, because I think this is a really good example of a marketing plan. And I want to pull out what I put together as far as a mission statement and values for the farm, and I want us to come up with some solid, boom, we're setting these in stone, making some choices for the department essentially on those. I think that they probably fall together pretty good, or pretty similar I should say, but I really like what we came up with here with the core values for the greenhouse essentially. And I don't know, maybe this mission statement is the right one for the farm as well, but let's talk about that on Wednesday, the mission statement especially. But for the core values, we came up with quality, community, knowledge, teamwork, and environment. And then for each of those, we have like a little tagline. And like I said, I'll share this with you, but quality, growing simply natural plants, produce, and seeds. Community, sharing our love of plants with you. Knowledge, demonstrating how to grow a greener future. Teamwork, growing together. Environment, considering our planet health when considering our plant health. And
we can change that up a little bit. We could, maybe simplify some stuff, but all of the taglines are kind of, you kind of catch the puns in there, right? I'm big on puns, but I think the students helped me with these puns, so it wasn't just me. And I like that. All right? Because it's fun. And the mission statement, I already said that, right? Yeah. Did I say that? Did I say the mission statement? I don't think I did. To share knowledge while providing quality plants, produce, and seeds with our community. So these were really geared toward the greenhouse, essentially, but I feel like we need to expand it out to the farm, and I'm almost positive I have a separate kind of mission statement, because I was looking at growing future farmers as opposed to growing plants. So I was looking at it in a big way in that sense too. So anyway, we'll talk more about that. So that's just me, blab, 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 but I'm good at that, as you know. All right, see you Wednesday.